Welcome to Soul Dialogue, where every conversation leads to transformation. I am your host, Lisa Coleman, and I'm excited to be here again with you today. We're going to approach and explore a subject on today that has not been too much explained or spoken of in our society, and specifically the Black community. I can only speak to my own experiences. In my experience, menopause was not a subject that was approached, that was talked about, or even mentioned. I can remember my younger years, I would see my mom and my auntie and some older women, how they would just break out in sweats. And I didn't quite understand why they would break out in sweats like that. And most of the times when it was profusely bad is when they were in the kitchen, right? You know, when you're cooking and it's hot in the kitchen, they would just sweat so bad. And I would just be like, gosh, is it really that hot in here? Why are they sweating like that? So yes, it's a subject that has not been approached or explored or talked about. And I can only speak to my experiences as well now that I am of the mature age, that I am now experiencing menopause. It is a journey, right? It's a path that I'm taking, learning as I go. I speak to often a few of my girlfriends and I'll ask them, are you experiencing this? Are you going through this? And so it's just something that I've discovered that broadly as a community, especially my age group, I am a Gen Xer, right? And my Gen Xer friends, and it's something that they are discovering as they walk along their path and, get to understand menopause better. I'm excited to have my sister friend who's with me today. I met her, I believe, in 2021. I believe that's when we met, in 2021. Mm-hmm. And immediately we clicked. You know how sometimes you meet certain people and you immediately click with them and it seems like you've known them all of their life. Well, this is how it has been with Dr. Makiba. We met at church during one of our ministry meetings, and we just began to talk, and we began to realize, okay, we got a lot in common, and she's just felt like she's been my sister, and I've known her all of my life. So I'm so excited to introduce you to Dr. Makiba Couture. She is a woman of God. She is an author. She is a teacher and trainer extraordinaire, and I am so excited to have her join me here today as we talk about purpose and as we talk about menopause. Welcome to Soul Dialogue, Dr. Makiba.
Thank you, Lisa. I am so happy to be here. You have no idea how excited I am to be here. I am looking forward to this conversation. And thank you for all of the wonderful things that you said in the introduction. We laugh all the time about accolades and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Whatever. Right? I'm just Makiba, Dr. Key. But I'm really excited to be here. So I look forward to the conversation that we're getting ready to have on these topics that are so misguided, or not even approached when it comes to the African American culture and community. And so just being able to talk about our experiences amongst one another and with one another is going to be, I believe, healing to a lot of people's soul today. So thank you for having me.
Of course, absolutely. It's going to be healing to my soul too. So I believe we've had this conversation before. I'm a late bloomer when it comes to experiencing menopause. I just got to the point where I'm in complete menopause now, right? And so some of the experiences that I had has been really an eye-opener for me. I believe I had my first experience of premenopause probably in 2016. I remember I was at work and I was looking at my computer, and all of a sudden I just felt this surge headache. And my first thought was, okay, I'm about to have a migraine headache. I don't know why, I'm having a migraine headache, but okay. But then after the surge of a headache, my vision began to become spotty. And I was like, what is happening? And then it progressively got worse. And it was to the point where I really couldn't see anything for like maybe 5 seconds. Everything was very blurry. And it was very scary to me. And I did not understand what that was. That frightened me out of my mind. And so once it went away, I didn't experience that again. But the headache surge did come back. I didn't, my vision didn't become spotty, and it didn't get to the point where everything was blurry, but I still would have like a surge headache every now and then. And so, of course, you know what we do? We get on Google, we look at Google MD before we go to the doctor.
Right. We about to kill ourselves.
And I Googled it up, and I, put the what was happening, what had happened to me, and it said that those were symptoms that had to do with menopause or premenopause. And so I went to the doctor and I explained what had happened, and she confirmed, yes, that was one of the symptoms of perimenopause. And that kind of scared me. And I was like, okay, I don't even know who to ask. It didn't come to my mind to ask my mom, because it's not something that we had ever talked about. So I didn't have an experience to automatically think to ask her. And so, yeah, where, other than us not approaching it and speaking to our elders about it, what do you think, or where do you think that stigma of not talking about menopause comes from? And there's a reason why I'm asking you that.
I just think, I honestly think it's because that people didn't know. Like, I just think that our grandmothers, our mothers, they had no frame of reference. Which, if they don't have a frame of reference, they don't have any inclination to pass down a frame of reference, right? I know with my own experience, and me and my mother laugh about this now, but it wasn't funny before, because I'm like, okay, I think I'm going through. So I'll say this. Let me give you just a little bit of context with my situation. So when we talk about the differences that you and I have, you just spoke about being a late bloomer to this. Fortunately, because you were able to go through this organically, right? For me, it was a little bit different because I was surgically menopaused. And what that means is in 2014, I had a complete hysterectomy. And when you have a complete hysterectomy, that's where all of your reproductive organs are removed. Specifically, your ovaries, because that is the production, that is the homing place of where your estrogen is produced, where your testosterone is produced, all of that's produced in your ovaries. And so there are partial hysterectomies and there are complete hysterectomies, and the women who have partial hysterectomies aren't in menopause. They just had their uteruses removed, maybe their cervixes. So I went into a surgical menopause because I had to have the entire process done. And so if you think about, one day I am doing fine, not really, but doing fine. Then I have surgery, and then the next day I'm in post-menopause. So the stages of menopause is perimenopause, menopause, which is an occurrence, and then post-menopause. So menopause in and of itself is just the moment that you no longer get a cycle, right? After you've gone those 12 months and you no longer have a cycle, that's menopause. The next day is postmenopause. And so I didn't have this natural, organic, like, entryway into menopause where the way that women are supposed to go through it. I just went into this. And the same thing happened to my mother because she had to have a hysterectomy. And let me just say, I get so frustrated with the state of our healthcare system because my mother, I'm 51. My mother had a history. She was 25 years old when she gave birth to me. After having me, she had to have a hysterectomy because we both have endometriosis. And if you think about, I was 40 years old when I had that. Over a 40-year time period, there was no progression in the healthcare system where there was possibly another alternative to treating this condition other than a complete hysterectomy, right? There's nothing, like, no one thought of any other type of approach to this that would allow us to have different outcomes to where, oh, the only thing that we can do now is give her a hysterectomy, right? And so my mother went through that same process. She didn't know, right? She didn't know what was going on with her body. She didn't know how to approach what was going on with her body. She didn't know, just like myself, didn't know what the hot flashes were and all this other stuff. She had no idea what any of this stuff was. And so when I started going through everything that I was going through, I just started having like all of these really bad body attacks. It didn't happen. I tease people all the time. It didn't happen until after I moved to Chicago. 'Cause I'm originally from Florida. And I had a hysterectomy when I was 40. 2014, I didn't move to Chicago until 2017. Those 3 years leading up, I was fine. I had no issues, nothing, until I moved to Chicago. And that's when I started learning about environmental toxicities. I started learning about how the body responds to that. I started learning all of these different things. And I understood that there's a big difference in a clean air environment versus a toxic air environment. And so once I moved here, I started having all of these health issues. But after moving here and talking to my mom about it, she was like, I remember talking to a VA doctor on the phone one day, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Makiba, you're going through menopause." She said, "Those are symptoms of menopause." And I was visiting my mom in Florida, and I looked at my mom and I said, "Do you know anything about it?" She's like, "Oh yeah, that's probably what you're going through." And I was like, "You thought maybe it might have been a good idea to tell a sister?" She just started laughing, like, and I just chalked that up to she just didn't have a frame of reference to really know what she needed to tell me and how she needed to prepare me for the situation. And so to answer your question, I just think that, and then another thing is I think that because as Black women, we are just designed to be strong, right? We live in a culture where the best way that people know how to encourage another person, even when they're going through death and grief, is to stay strong. You notice that, right?
Yeah.
Like I look on social media and I see, when people they're grieving and they're going through something, and I look through the comments purposely, and I'm looking at how many people are telling this person to stay strong, be strong. And so we have in our minds, right, this proclivity to just always present ourselves as strong. And so when you look at your mom and you look at your grandmother who were sweating all the time and who probably knew that something wasn't right with their body, but why am I going to go and inquire about it? Why am I going to go and talk about it to anybody? Because it's probably nothing. And Black women don't get taken seriously anyway. And they're probably just going to say it's this, that, or the other. So I'm just going to suck it up, be strong, and deal with it. And that's just the nature of our lives. But as we continue in this conversation, you'll see how my approach to my situation, I just had to take ownership of it. Because if I didn't, like, I was slowly declining.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, we have been conditioned to believe that we have to be strong and take everything. And we don't allow ourselves space to break, right? To not be strong.
Right.
And that's traumatic
Right.
for all Black women. I'm not going to say some, all Black women.
Right.
We have been traumatized to believe that we have to be strong all the time. We can't be soft.
Right.
Like there's no space to be soft.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when we're dealing with menopause, that activates the situation.
Yeah. Yep.
And
And that's another layer.
That's a totally whole nother layer. And I know for me, when menopause came along, I was in this place of, I became an empty nester. My kids were grown, right? I was living in another state. I had to go through this process of learning who I am all over again, right? Discovering who I am and what is my purpose, because societal norms have placed this label on us that if we don't have children, we have no purpose, right? And I know for you, that's a whole nother layer that you had to deal with even prior to even going through the day after your surgery, being in postmenopause.
Yeah.
And you just taught me something, because I didn't even know that I'm in postmenopause now, right? So I just learned just now with you saying that I'm in postmenopause. I was thinking that I was, still in menopause. I made it a year, finally, thank God.
Yep. Such an achievement.
Such an achievement.
Such an accomplishment. And then it just brings on, it's so interesting because you can't even like bask in the accomplishment of that.
You cannot.
Because it just opens up a door to something else now.
And I didn't even know I was in postmenopause, right? And I know that this is a subject that most people don't talk about, so we're going to be really honest today in this episode. And for me, I went through a series of 2.5 to 3 years where I had to start all over again because my cycle started again. And when I first heard that, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I got to go a whole nother, like I would go like 9-10 months and then it would show up.
Which is traumatic.
And then that's very traumatic because I literally cried every time it showed up. And I'm like, Lord, why is this happening to me? I can't believe I'm still going through this. I'm 57 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a whole mental... It's really traumatic. It really is, because I went to thinking like I have to go a whole another 12 months and pray it don't come again.
Right. Yeah. And you ain't prayed that hard before when it was when trying to get pregnant, right? Or not get pregnant. Like you praying hard.
So when that year finally came, I was like, oh my God, thank the Lord. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm finally in full menopause. But now that I know I'm in postmenopause, so thank you for educating me.
You're very welcome.
In that moment.
You are very welcome. You're very welcome.
And for you, how did you handle that first layer of dealing with societal norms of, you know, if you don't produce a child, you know, religiously, you know, that's where it came from. In the time of Jesus, while he was here, even before he was here, women were treated as property, right? Still are today to a certain extent. Well, no, let me take that back. Still are treated as property. You know, the laws, unfortunately, are trying to, you know, they're trying to put it back there. But they were treated as property. And if you didn't have children, then you were basically useless. Right? There are many instances in the Bible where Hannah and Peninnah, that's her name, right? Where she didn't have a child and she didn't think she was worth anything to her husband. And her husband told her, I love you, you know, more than anything. But she still felt like if she didn't have a child, that she was useless. And unfortunately, in that time as well as now, if you don't have children, you know, as far as cultural norms, that you really don't have anything to produce for the world. So how did you deal with that layer of, I'm not going to say, of course, it was disappointment for you, but how did you, I'm not going to put a label on it. How did you handle that?
I mean, I'd say I'm still handling it.
Okay.
That's, it's a very honest conversation. And at 51, I'll be 52 this year. I was just having this thought maybe yesterday, of how if you're not, and it's difficult to place yourself in an emotional and mental space all the time. Because that's another layer, right? If you're seen as weak if you are too emotional, right? You're seen as over emotional if you start communicating, you know, the way you feel. And so sometimes you start suppressing the way that you feel about certain things. As a matter of fact, I was I was looking at something the other day on social media. So Tracy Ellis Ross is an actress, and, you know, she's not married, never been married. She doesn't have any children. And she is known for often stating that she is not bothered by the fact that she doesn't have a husband and she doesn't have children. And I was looking at some comments on a post that was widely made about her having said that again. And this Black female said on the post, she said, I believe that Tracy needs to stop talking about this because the more that she talks about this, it makes it seem like it does bother her. So she needs to stop talking about this. And I am immediately, like in my tracks, I said, this is the reason why people have to keep talking about stuff, because it puts a facade out there that, like, what would happen if she stopped talking about that and she actually started talking about how she felt about the fact that she doesn't have kids and that she doesn't have a husband, and it actually does bother her, right? There's always going to be an opinion about something. So now that she's actually saying it, now someone's saying, well, I believe that she needs to stop talking about this because I believe that the reason that she's saying it so much is because it does bother her. Well, it doesn't matter, right? She's going to say what she needs to say to help herself navigate through this traumatic time in her life. And so, to answer your question, I think that it's something that I'm still dealing with, right? And I don't know if I'll ever be completely okay with not having been chosen to have children. What I will say is, I went through a number of different awareness moments and experiences because when I was younger, I wished that I wouldn't get married and that I was not going to be a mother. And that was primarily because my mother and father from time to time would argue. And they would argue about money, from time to time, or just whatever, normal situations that husbands and wives argue about or may have strong discussions about. And I was an only child and I would view that quite often. So I would often say, I'm never going to get married because my view of getting married is people argue a lot. And I'm always going to have a lot of money because it seems like what they're arguing about is money, not having money. And I don't want to have children because I was born and raised in a Christian culture where you don't have children anyway, unless you're married. You don't have sex unless you're married. You don't have children unless you're married. So I'm not going to have children because I'm never going to get married. And that was the way that I viewed my life, right? And so as I got older and just life started happening and I did get married and found out that I had stage 3 endometriosis at the time because my husband and I at the time had said, I got married when I was 23. We said that we would start trying to have kids at 29. And when I got to 29, I realized that it was it wasn't as easy as I thought that it was going to be. And I was formally diagnosed with stage 3 endometriosis at the age of 29. But I had been having symptoms of that ever since 15. And so when I was diagnosed with it, I did not realize that diagnosis was going to bring a snowball effect of a whole bunch of experiences, surgeries, awareness moments, diagnoses, all kinds of different things that once you're approached with that type of situation, I would always say you don't know what you don't want until it's threatened that you can't have it. And so there were moments when I was married and I'm always taking pregnancy tests and I'm trying and it would always come back negative. And on one side and on the flip side of that coin, I'm having horrible periods because endometriosis is an absolute beast when it comes to your monthly menstrual cycles and just how you feel and all of that. And so I was trying to navigate that. But on the other hand, I was like, God, did I curse myself? Did I curse myself by saying that I didn't want to have kids? Are you punishing me because of something that I put out when I was a kid, right? Are you punishing me because of this? And, just of course went through life, ended up divorcing. So I didn't have that marriage. And the Lord just started speaking to me more and more, you don't know the bigger picture. You don't see the bigger picture. I see the bigger picture. I know that the plan that I have for your life wasn't necessarily for you to be a single mother, right? The plan for your life wasn't necessarily for you to live your life in this frame, this box, but I have something bigger and better for you. And so that, I kind of got into education and started being a teacher and a parent, to other people's children and all these different things. And so it kind of helped me navigate that space. But what I found, Lisa, was that one of the things that I found myself doing, and it had a lot to do with divorce, but I also think that it had a lot to do with my inability to approach the situation of being infertile and not being able to produce in the one way that I felt like women were created to produce, was I started overachieving in other areas. And I started overachieving educationally. I started overachieving from a business standpoint. I was starting businesses left and right, trying really hard to be mildly, at the very least, successful in those businesses, getting degree after degree. And, I'm very proud of the accomplishments that I've had over time. But I am always the very first to admit that I'm not 100% sure that was what God wanted me to do. But it was something that I was pursuing because there was something I needed to be in control of. And I couldn't be, it had been proven to me that I was not in control of that part of my life, right? I'm a woman. I'm supposed to be able to produce children for my husband, and I'm not able to do that. And I wasn't able to keep my marriage together, and I wasn't able to do this, and I wasn't able. The one thing I know I can do, because I'm smart, is I can accomplish and I can achieve. So I'm going to be in control of that. And that was that. And once I got divorced from my husband, my ex-husband, I was on a what was it, 4 7, probably a 7 year path to just getting degree after degree after degree. Right. And so to answer your question, how have I dealt with that? There's a part of me that has dealt with it. And I'm a lot better at being okay with it. But Mother's Day is really hard for me.
Yeah.
Not because I have my mother, right? But I don't live near my mother, so I can't spend time with my mother when I want to. And I think that if I was closer to my mother, I can kind of suppress the energy that I have about not being a mother and give all my attention to her, but I don't. And so Mother's Day is very hard for me. And so on Mother's Day, I will retreat and I'll stay in the house all day and I won't do anything. And I wish the day would go away. And then that next day comes and I'm good. So, part of me from an emotional standpoint has dealt with it enough to be able to navigate purpose in the space that God has me in to help cultivate and develop women, which allows me, I think of, what's her name? Deborah in the Bible, who there's no note of her ever having children. But she was described as a mother, right? Because she mothered people into their purpose. She mothered that win, right? With her husband's support. And so I just look at, like, God has something else for me to do. He has another way for me to mother. But I'm at a place in my life now where I'm opening myself to what that looks like.
So what that looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I was just listening to you talk about on Mother's Day how it's difficult for you, although you've never been a mother. But I want to almost say, like, the hormonal effect, I believe, that you're experiencing during that time, knowing that it's Mother's Day, as far as, culture and society is concerned. That's today. So I'm just never mind, I'm speaking out loud. Anyway, I heard you talk about endometriosis. What is endometriosis? Because we have millions of women who probably have endometriosis and don't know that they have endometriosis.
Yeah, 1 in 10.
Wow.
1 in 10. 1 in 10 women have endometriosis. So endometriosis is a condition where the endometrial lining that is normally shed when you have your period grows in other places outside of the uterus. And therefore it can't shed. So it just builds up and it becomes very painful. And so in my situation, and this is why a hysterectomy isn't a cure-all to endometriosis, because so I don't know. So the stages of cancer, when you think about the stages of cancer, cancer has different stages because of where it has grown to, right? Same thing with endometriosis. So there are stages of endometriosis 1 to 4, and those stages, for the most part, are based off of the degree of it, the condition, and also where else it is placed. And so for me, I had it all over my bowels, outside of my uterus, all in my joints.
Wow.
So when I had the hysterectomy, that wasn't a cure-all, right? But what it did was it just allowed me to be able to deal with, the effects of it, so that it hopefully wouldn't grow anymore. But it has grown. Let's just say that. So that's what endometriosis is. It is the endometrial lining that grows outside of the uterus. It's unable to be shed, and it grows in other places. And really, there's only another way that you can. It's something called extraction surgery, where you can have it extricated from different areas where they can go in and just like take it out. But I never had those surgeries.
Okay. And so, thank you for sharing that. And so, with each of these transitional processes that you've experienced, how were you able to navigate purpose or discovering God's purpose for your life? Because as women, we go through all of these things, right? And as you stated, there really aren't spaces for us to break or break down. So we always have to be strong. How were you able to navigate all of those emotional responses based upon
Child, let me straighten up my microphone here because we got a story to tell.
based upon all of the hormonal changes that you were going through and discovering that you had endometriosis and discovering that you weren't able to have children and then getting a divorce and then moving to a totally new location that you have never been to, different climate, just everything. Like you've just talked about maybe 3 to 5 different transitional periods in your life.
Right.
How did you navigate that, while you were discovering your purpose, right? While dealing with your emotions, dealing with trauma, and how did you navigate that space? How were you able to steward your soul through all of that?
That's a really good question. It's loaded.
It's very loaded.
So thank you for making me go deep. So let me take you back. So it's 2025 now. I've been in Chicago since 2017. And let me go back before that. So I was married. I mentioned I was married before. I was married for 15 years, and by all accounts, from the outside looking in, it was a beautiful marriage. We even helped younger couples. We just were just like, to me and to other people, it looked like a model marriage. But it was not. And my husband at the time was not faithful. And our marriage consisted of a lot of infidelity. And he chose to have a relationship with someone who was an acquaintance of mine. And
Hold on.
so
Wait. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yes, at church.
Oh, okay.
Thought I'd put that in there. I was gonna put that in there, but since you brought it up,
Okay.
since you didn't bring it up, but since you kind of had,
Okay.
yeah, from church, and so that, along with a couple of other situations, put me in a really bad headspace when it came to women. And I've always just been this type of person because I am this only biological child to my parents. So there's no sisters in my life. I'm not super, super close with my cousins. I'm not super, super close to my aunts, like just not, right? So I have always wanted to have relationship with women that was substantial and that fed me in some kind of way. And then that I could do vice versa. And so when this all happened in my marriage, I just had like this really, really bad, I was in this really bad headspace with women, and I just was just done with it. I didn't want this anymore, and I didn't understand why I was allowed to go through all of this stuff, right? So let's fast forward to, I've been divorced for several years. I've been divorced for probably 11 years at that time. Decided to move to Chicago, and the purpose of me coming to Chicago didn't work out. And a lot of my friends and family were like, are you going to move back home because you don't need to live in Chicago anymore because that relationship ended? And I was like, no, I think I'm going to stay here because I know God brought me here. Like there was a whole thing that the Lord did to me prior that let me know that I'm moving you to Chicago. And Chicago is not on the bucket list. It was never on the list of places I might want to move. Not coming from Florida, you can guarantee that. I didn't even want to visit Chicago. I was just like, I'm good on that. But when he told me that he was moving me to Chicago, I was like, okay, there's something's going on here. So I got to Chicago. That relationship ended 2018 April timeframe. I'm in this studio apartment. I had just sold my brand new. I built a house in 2015.
Wow.
Sold it in 2017 when I moved to Chicago, and now I was living in a 400 square foot studio apartment on King Drive. And I was like, one day, I remember it like it was yesterday, Lisa. I stood in my kitchen of this little apartment and I said to the Lord, I said, why am I here? What do you have me here for? You said that you were bringing me here, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. This cannot be the picture. This can't be the plan. And he said to me, Makiba, the move to Chicago is in alignment with the purpose that I have for your life. And I said, okay, well, what's that? And he gave me one word, and he said, women. And I said, I know you lying. I said, I know you lying because you already know how I feel about them. I don't like them, right? And I was like, I don't like them. That's no. And so I asked God again. I was like, okay, well, that's not gonna happen. So let's go back to the drawing board. And I know the Lord was like, girl, okay, we can go back to the drawing board. He said again, women, that's who I'm calling you to. That's who you're going to help. And I'm like, God, I don't know what this is all about. Like, I don't know how to do this. And so once I finally got to the point where I accepted that instruction, my question to him, the follow-up question to him was, well, how do I do this? And he said to me, the how is not important right now. He said, what is important? He said, the how will be your interpretation once you get more knowledge of me. And I was like, whatever that means. Okay. And so I said, okay. And I remember just like laying down in the middle of my studio floor and crying, just laid out on the floor crying. And it was the moment that I said yes to God from what he told me. I wasn't happy about it. He didn't give me one. He didn't give me a framework. He didn't give me a plan. He didn't give me strategy. He didn't give me anything. He just said, the how will be your interpretation once you get more knowledge of me. And I said, all right, whatever. From 2018 to 2020, let me see, 2018 to 2023, 5 years, the Lord took me on a processing journey. All because I said yes.
That yes is dangerous.
To some mess. Right? I got sick. The whole menopause thing started. Before that, before I said yes, before I had that conversation with him in the kitchen, I didn't have any effects of menopause. Nothing. When I tell you I was still living in the body that I was living in when I was living in Florida when I got to Chicago. The moment that I said yes to God, it was almost like immediately my body started being attacked by environmental, because I had a job downtown, so I'm working downtown. You know how toxic downtown is. And I started having severe anxiety. I started having tremendous hair loss, chronic inflammation in my body, just like a Job experience, but not on that level, but still a Job experience I was starting to go through. Not even putting it together and like aligning it with this is attached to this. Like you're going through this because of the yes. I didn't even see it that way. I didn't start seeing it that way until 2023 when I had another encounter with God. But that 5 years, he started taking me through this processing journey, which I didn't realize at the time was going to be connected to the purpose plan that he had for me. So I'm going through all of this for 5 years, and 2023 rolls around, early part of 2023, and I'm looking at TikTok, just scrolling on TikTok. And I tell people to this day, social media can be an amazing, amazing tool that God can use to speak to you. That's why your ability to hear and understand God has to go beyond a one-dimensional idea of what God is going to how God is going to talk to you, right? If you're used to hearing God talk to you in one way, and that's the only way you expect God to talk to you, you're going to miss him most of the time. So I'm looking at TikTok and this video comes on and this girl talks about a 21-day fast that she was going on. And immediately the Lord called me to a 21-day distraction fast. And I was like, okay, what does this mean? And he spoke to me and he said, I want you to go on a 21-day fast where you are where you are fasting from something that you know distracts you from hearing from me. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, well, I took the easy way out. So I took away television. That was easy for me, right? Because I'm like, I'm the type of person, I look at comfort shows. Like there's no rhyme or reason to me looking at TV. It's just on for the most part. And I look at the same shows all the time. So I was like, it's easy. I can take away TV. And so I took away TV for 21 days. And I did my videos and stuff, and I was reading my Bible, and I was doing devotion and stuff. Nothing happened in 21 days. He ain't say nothing. He ain't say nothing. And I said, well, this was a waste of time. Because he didn't even say nothing. Like, I was like, God, you said 21 days. So I got to the 20th day. And I was like, well, tomorrow's the 21st day, so I guess this is, I don't know what you wanted to say to me, but okay. And he spoke to me because I was marking it down on my calendar. And he spoke to me and he said, I want you to go on another 21-day fast. He said, this time I need for you to take away what you know distracts you from hearing my voice. And we all know that that's social media. That's social media. I didn't want to take that away first because I'm like, I don't want to, like, I'm not a social media, like, I guess I am. I'm tad bit addicted to social media because when I look at my phone at the end of the week and my phone gives me like my weekly stats, I'm like, Makiwa, this is you ought to be ashamed of yourself at how much time you looking at your phone during the day. Like, this is ridiculous. So so God said to me at the 20th day, he said, I want you to go on another 21-day fast. And this time I need for you to take away the distraction that you know is keeping you from hearing from me. And I said, oh, you talking about social media? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, you talking about that one? Okay, God, I got you. So I took a ball off my phone. Because I know me. I'm not just going to be like, okay, I won't look at no, I had to take all the apps off my phone. So I took off TikTok, I took off Instagram, I took off Facebook, I took all of them off my phone. So I can't, if I had to look at them, I would have to reinstall them on my phone. So I was like, all right, God, you got me for 21 days. Let's do this. And probably right around day 13, Terrell was having an event. And at this church, Pastor Terrell. And I had bought a ticket for it, and I was like, I don't want to go. I'm not gonna go. I'm tired. I don't feel like going. And the Lord said, no, I want you to go. You know, you gave your word, you bought the ticket, go. And I was like, okay. And I decided to go to the event. It was on a Saturday. It was at a church out in the south suburbs. And I went to the event, and the pastor who was there told us to take some time to write down what God was speaking to us. He said, this is a moment for you to write down what God is speaking to you. And Lisa, girl, I opened up my phone and took out a note on my phone, and the Lord just started speaking to me. This was day 13 of a 21-day fast. He just starts speaking to me. And I have it written in my phone to this day. It's actually in my book. It's actually in the Purpose Code book. Everything I wrote in that book, everything the Lord spoke to me. And what it was God's green light to move forward of what he told me in 2018 in that kitchen. Because remember when he told me, I told you that he told me the how is going to be your interpretation once you get more knowledge of me. The 5 years was the process of me getting more knowledge of him. And when I got to 2023, to him, it was enough time for him to say, she's ready. And in that download to me, it was God reminding me of everything that he told me and everything that he whispered to me and everything that other people had told me. And he reminded me, he said, I've not changed my mind about that. He said, it's still going to come to pass. This is the green light. Like, this is how I understood it to be. This is God saying, go forth. And as you know, the next year, the Purpose Summit, we did the Purpose Summit. And I said to myself, okay, God, I don't know. This was my response to the word that he gave me in 2023. I said, I still don't know how. And he responded to me and he said, and I tell women this all the time, Lisa, God trusts you when he knows that you made him 1st.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care how you do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he trusts you, then he knows that you're not going to do anything that is self-satisfying.
Absolutely.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the Lord reminded me, and he said, the how is your interpretation. You can do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
He said, the only thing that I ask you is that you keep me 1st.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, come to me about it. He said, but how, that is, if you choose to write a book, you're good. If you choose to have an event, you're good. If you choose to, create a ministry, you're fine. Mm-hmm. The how is your interpretation. Mm-hmm. Once you get more knowledge of me, because now you know me, mm-hmm. you know my ways, you know what I want, you know what I would approve of and what I wouldn't approve of, right? And so when I went towards this purpose summit in 2024, I would never have done an event. Mm-hmm. That's not Makiba.
Right.
Makiba is I write books. Mm-hmm. I talk to people, mm-hmm. right? I don't have events. Mm-hmm. When I had that idea, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt it was God, mm-hmm. because it's not something that I would have done. And so when you ask me, like, how do I navigate the experience of menopause and the experience of all of those different life shifts and tie it into or navigate it with purpose, mm-hmm. it was because of that purpose was revealed. Mm-hmm. Right? It was because of that purpose was revealed. So now the pillars of the ministry that I have are faith, mm-hmm. health, and mission. Mm-hmm. Right? And so my job, what I am very clear on what God has given me the instruction to do, is he wants me to advance his kingdom and build up disciples who have an understanding of what it looks like to faith walk with God, mm-hmm. know him in a way that's going to make it very clear, remove all misclarity. Mm-hmm. They're healthy when they do it, right? Because you're not going to be able to do anything that God has called you to do if you're sick, busted, disgusted, mm-hmm. mentally unwell, emotionally unwell, mm-hmm. physically unwell, right? And then also mission, because there's something that God has told you to do. Mm-hmm. So you got to do it. Mm-hmm. That's what God called me to. Mm-hmm. And so when I tell people, they're like, well, I don't know what my purpose is. Okay, well, let me help you real quick. Your purpose is to help build heaven. Mm-hmm. That's it. People are like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know. Your purpose is, everybody's purpose is the same thing. Mm-hmm. How we do it is different, mm-hmm. but everybody's purpose is the same thing. God expects us to help build heaven. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to do that? Yeah. That's your question to God, mm-hmm. not what is my purpose, but how do you want me to do it? Mm-hmm. And so God took me through a 5-year journey of just clarifying that I wasn't trying to destroy you, right? I wasn't trying to destroy you, but the reason why, oh my God, the reason why I brought you to Chicago and took you away from the familiar space of your life is because had I left you there, I wouldn't have your attention. I wouldn't have your attention. It's a distraction. God took me on a distraction fast. Mm-hmm. Florida, I love my state. It would have been a distraction for me. He would have never been able to get my attention because I knew that place. Mm-hmm. He brought me to a place I had no frame of reference for. I didn't know anybody. All I had was time, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. to learn more about him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah. That's so good. I'm smiling because your experience is almost the same as mine. Except he moved me away from Chicago, right? I moved to a place I had never been. Although my brother was there, I was still alone, mm-hmm. right? This was a 3-year deep dive for me, like 3.5 years deep. Although I'm back at home, mm-hmm. it was a 3.5 year deep dive for me to discover who he is and discover who I am, yeah. right? And in that discovering of who he is and who I am in him, this is where Soul Dialogue came from. Because anybody that know me know, doing this is not, I wouldn't do this on my own. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still shocked mm-hmm. that I'm doing this, right? That I have a podcast. I'm still shocked at it. And so the familiarity of the journey, I can agree with you on that. Mm-hmm. And so then how with your journey and you navigating that, what lessons were you able to learn from those seasons of transition, of hard transition, right? What lessons did you learn?
Um, I think one of the first lessons that I learned is, and I'm reminded of it often, is that only what I do for God is going to last. I have a lot of things that I could be doing. I have a lot of focuses that could have my attention. Um, and I do think that this comes with maturity, right? I think that all of this comes with maturity, and maturity is broken down into so many different facets: physical maturity, emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, right? It's all maturity, but it's maturity in different ways that come with physical maturity. Um, and so, one of the things that I did not do for a very long time was pray God's will over my life. I would avoid that, like at all costs. I don't think I started praying God's will over my life and meant it until maybe my mid 40s. Because I knew what that meant. Like, I was raised in church. I've been saved for a long, long time. My mama don't play when it comes to Jesus. Like, I know what it means when you say, God, your will be done, because that means what I want ain't gonna happen. 99.99% of the time, whatever it is that I want God to do for me is not going to be his priority, right? And it's not going to so I would avoid that. I would not, man. I would craft my prayers. I'm so embarrassed. I would I would craft my prayers to manipulate God.
Wow.
Like, I would craft my prayers like, God, you know I love you, and I do anything for you, and you are just the Lord of my life, and God, I believe that I'm called to this, and I believe that this is the gift that you get. Ain't said nothing about um if it's aligned with your will, or align my thoughts with your thoughts. I'm not gonna say that because I'm not dumb, right? And so I would do stuff like that, and I know God was like, girl. And I thank him for just like being patient with me. Like, this has been a process. But yeah, I think one of the that's one of the lessons. The other lesson that I've learned is, and I often say this to people, is or women, is we hear often what God has for me is for me, right? We hear that a lot.
I hear that.
And it's true. What God has for you is absolutely for you. It's been predestined from the beginning of time, and he had you in mind when he put it in place. But it doesn't mean you're going to get it. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you are going to live a life that's going to be full of that.
No.
Right? Because his predestined will for our lives requires an acceptance. Right? People go through life doing really, really great things and never even tap into what God actually created them to do. And so one of the things that I learned for myself, which changed like the trajectory of even how I've started moving in my life, at this big old age of 51, it took me a while. And that's why people got to understand the Bible. The Bible says that we evolve, we go from glory to glory. And I personally believe that when God spoke in the beginning that he created man in the image of him, it wasn't an immediate thing.
Oh no.
It's a glorified version of us,
absolutely.
Right? It's just letting us know that we are created in the image of God. We might not look like it right now, but if we live this life correctly, we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Because he's preparing us for heaven.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the biggest things that I have learned is, Makiba, there's a certain amount of responsibility that God is entrusting you with. And he has a whole bunch of stuff for you. But it's going to require you to align with him and accept it. And that means that you're going to have to let some stuff go. And I think a part of me, even in this shifting and this transition of life, is letting things go, right? It's still difficult for me because of the type of person that God has made. I'm very empathetic person. I'm an empath by nature, right? I extend myself to people. I do certain things, but I also believe that God is, he's saying that there's certain things that you're going to have to release yourself from if you're going to go to this next level. And yeah, there's a lot of other things that I've learned, but I think for the most part, those have been the biggest things for me, is just really understanding that, to know what purpose was. And that was another thing when he told me about my purpose being teaching other women about purpose. And I said to God in that moment, like, I don't even know what my own purpose is. How in the world am I going to teach somebody else? This is back in 2018. I'm like, how am I going to? I said, even when I wrote the purpose code, this is something that God gave me back in 2018. I was going to teach women about purpose. I didn't even know my own purpose. I didn't know what that looked like. But over time, right, as I began to know more about God, which is what he told me, you will understand what purpose is. You will understand what my purpose is for your life. And then you will be able to then help other people navigate and understand their position in that space. But it came over time. And so I think that the best way to please God is to accept what he says and then start moving in the direction of that acceptance. That's what's been very helpful for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And with all of your wealth of knowledge and experience, and with you writing your 2 books, which I want you to tell us about your books and the titles of it. Yeah, you have a lot. And your purpose, what you've gone through, lines up with your purpose to help women walk through and navigate, to their purpose. Because you've gone through a lot. You've had a lot of transitions. You've had a lot of trauma. You've dealt with a lot of things. So you have the experience to help walk someone through and to their purpose. So why don't you tell us about your books?
Yeah.
That you have here.
So this one here, this is the tea. If anybody want to know my story and all my business. I wrote this book in 2017. So when I moved to Chicago in 2017, in 2018, when I had that conversation with the Lord in my apartment, and he gave me a yes. I'm sorry, I gave him a yes. This book was written in 4 months. It's called Unapologetically Me, A Story of Pain, Passion, and Purpose. I believe that this is a healing tool for myself. I read this book once a year, myself. And every time I read it, I cry. Because it and this is only up through 2018. It's been 7 years now, right? There's more to this story. But this is my healing potion to myself. It talks about, I started at 8 years old with my dad, and what happened with me and my dad, and then I transitioned into the relationship with my dad and my mom, and then I transitioned into relationships parallel with other friends, and how those were just not the best. And then I talk about my marriage, and I talk about when I got diagnosed with endometriosis and the infidelity. It's my life. Scripted.
Yes.
I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I was very transparent with this book. And again, like I said, I read this once a year, and it reminds me of how good God is, and that there is always a purpose for my life, and I have to keep moving, right? So that's what this book is. This is Unapologetically Me. You can get it on Amazon. And then the next book, this is my baby right here.
Purpose code.
This is my very first faith-based teaching protocol for women. And it's the very first time that I have, when God said the how is going to be your interpretation. I remember God telling me that I was going to be teaching women about purpose, but I did not know how I was going to do that. And this was the very first thing that I did. So this is the purpose code, unlocking access to God's purpose for your life. And the framework of this book is based on questions that I've been asked. So questions like, let me look at the table of contents real quick. So questions like, where does purpose come from? How do I know what my purpose is? Chapter 3, how do I know when I found my purpose? Chapter 4, what does the will of God mean? Chapter 5, how do I seek God for my purpose? Chapter 6, what if I know my purpose but don't know where to start? Chapter 7, I'm in a constant state of discontentment. You know what? Every last one of these questions I've lived, right? So I thought of questions that people had asked me, but I also thought of questions that I've asked God, right? And so I said, okay, well, that's going to be the book. And so it literally is, I call the introduction to Alpha. And then we have 11 chapters in here. Chapter 11 being, is the trauma and pain I've experienced connected to my purpose? Can my business be my purpose? And then the epilogue is the Omega. This is a good book, y'all.
Yeah.
I ain't lying. Not because I wrote it, but if somebody else would have wrote this and I bought it, it still would be good. Like, this is a really, really good book because it came straight from the heart of God.
And I love that you have that the book is guided by questions because for so long, before we came into the knowledge of the truth ourselves, we were told to not question God, right? And growing up, you have this fear of asking God things, or even not definitely not talking about deep layered questions like these, but we were afraid to ask God for anything, right? Let alone talk about asking him about purpose. But what I've learned is if you don't ask God, how will you find out?
Yeah.
If you don't ask questions, how will you find out
simple is
anything?
that? Right. How simple is that?
Right.
But we're taught that you gotta be real careful how you ask God questions. And I'm like,
absolutely.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good.
Yeah, I don't know about. I think that I think it's okay to ask God questions, and I think that if I'm to get more knowledge of God, then it has to be prefaced by a question of some sort.
Absolutely.
So that he can then go deeper into the answer for that question, and then show me life application strategies of how that answer can now be like, the way that we were taught, and the way that some people unfortunately are still being taught, is just, it's problematic, within our culture and just within the Christian faith. But I 100% agree. I ask God questions all the time. Let me know something.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Every day. I know you get tired of me because every day I'm like,
every day.
Okay, now God, what what's happening? What? That's good.
Yeah.
So tell us your website.
So my website is drmakibacouture.com. www.drmakibacouture is my middle name.com. And I haven't been on that website in a little bit, but I think the last time I was on the website. And I'm doing a little bit of, so I have some other things that I'm working on personally. I told you that health and wellness is becoming a big part of the ministry that God has given me. So the name of my ministry is Purpose Over Popularity. And Purpose Over Popularity, the ministry, really was birthed out of a personal experience. Lisa, this is what we got. This is what we got to let people know. We have to let people know, sis, that life is one big ball of experiences.
One big ball of experience.
And if you're trying to figure out how you're supposed to navigate through the purpose, the plan that God has given you to fulfill his purpose, just look at your life.
Just look at your life.
Right? That's like everything about your life is what God is giving you as a tool or even as an experience. I was reading in my devotion yesterday that we are not to be wishing away our trials because our trials are exercises to build spiritual trust muscles.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So if you are constantly asking God to not allow you to go, and these are allowances, right? We have to remember that God doesn't cause anything in our life. a lot of times things that we go through in our lives are because of choices or because of affiliations or whatever, right? But God will allow us to experience these things because he's trying to get something to us, or
Yeah.
he's trying to get something out of us. He's trying to grow us in some way. But at the end of the day, these trials that God is taking us through is hopefully to build us in a place where we can now make trusting God a default mechanism when the devil starts throwing his fear tactics at us.
Yeah.
And so when I look at my life and when I look at the things that, I with purpose over popularity, there was a long stint of time in my life where I was trying to do all this stuff in my life, creating businesses. Okay, so let me just say this. This is in the book also. When God told me, don't do this, y'all. Don't do this. When God told me in the very beginning in 2018, God told me, I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And he said the how is going to be your interpretation once you get more knowledge of me. I bypassed the knowledge of God, right? And I just was like, oh, my interpretation. So I started all these businesses, like had nothing to do with God, right? Like, but again, it was another like manipulation tactic that I was really, really good at, manipulating God to make things look like, or even manipulating myself to make them look like they were of God. And I was working with women and I was helping women build businesses. And I'm really, really gifted in helping people build businesses just because of the jobs that I've had and since I've been in Chicago. But then God was like, I ain't tell you to do nothing. I did not tell you to do any of that. And so in those moments of me doing that, I was spending lots of money with coaches, like culture coaches and all these coaches like in the social media space who I just knew I could get all this help from them. And I was using their strategies to become popular, right? On the social grant, right? Like I was trying to become popular because I was like, well, this is the only way that I can do this. And this is what's popular. And this is what's going on. And this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And the Lord spoke to me and he said, purpose over popularity. I never will forget the moment that came to me as the title of the ministry. Because the Lord was like, girl, anything that I call you to ain't gonna look nothing like the world.
Ain't gonna look nothing like
the strategies that you use ain't gonna look nothing. And that was probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned. When you asked that question, one of the biggest lessons that I learned is, and God had to beat me over the head so many times to get me to see that, is that what I'm giving you to do, what I'm giving you to build, is not going to look like the world.
It is not going to look like the
It's
world.
not going to look like the world.
And
I know we've gotten off this whole menopause path, but I promise you it's connected.
But right, it's connected.
Because every single day, baby, your girl is still sweating.
It's part of it. It's part of it.
I'm sweating. I'm sweating every day. And I'm on BHRT and I'm working on my health and wellness and stuff. And but I 100% believe that it's all purpose related. And what I said the other day on a social media post was that it's okay for you to understand that what goes on in your body is not just self-related, but it's also purpose related. Right? For me, what God has allowed me to go through with my health issues, I'm literally helping women go through that right now.
You are definitely
with that. I would not have ever been able to make that connection with women had I not gone through it. And sometimes people wish away trials and wish away experiences, not realizing that that's what makes you a subject matter expert.
That's what makes you an SME. Absolutely.
So how you gonna be doing something in purpose?
Absolutely.
And God can't. How he gonna trust you to do it?
Yeah, you are.
You ain't never been through nothing,
right? You are absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Because 2 Corinthians 4:8 says we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed.
Not crushed.
That's trials. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. That's all trials of life. Living your life
every day.
Every single day.
Every day.
That's everyday life.
And the Bible says, how you gonna want the glory of God without also equally experiencing his suffering too?
Absolutely.
That's another lesson I learned. But this comes with maturity.
It comes with maturity.
It comes with maturity. It comes with maturity. You cannot expect a baby Christian to understand that you're gonna have to go through hard times.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna have to be crushed,
You're
baby.
gonna have to.
You just said yes to Jesus.
That's all you know.
Right? You just said yes to Jesus. And that's why churches have to understand it's not just about getting people saved. How are you preparing these people
Yes. How are you
to
discipling
walk
them?
this
Absolutely.
journey?
Absolutely.
Because it's about to get hard.
It's
about to get hard.
The story for a whole.
You have to evolve in this.
Yes, you have
right?
to.
You're going from glory to glory.
Glory to glory.
You're becoming like Jesus. What did Jesus go through? He was killed.
He was killed
on a cross. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to navigate this earthly body, this earthly existence, and expect to not go through a whole bunch of stuff.
No way.
So but that was a learning lesson for me. 20 years ago, absolutely not.
Oh, yeah.
10 years ago, probably not.
Yeah.
Because I got here 8 years ago and I was jolted.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't know. Like, I'm like, when I said yes to Chicago, I had no idea what God was getting ready to do to me. Had I known, I'd have stayed my behind in Florida.
No, that's right. And not only from glory to glory, but our faith grows, right? That's what from faith to faith means.
Yes.
That means that it grows on levels and levels and levels and levels,
Yeah.
which means then that glory comes after that faith. And your faith is only your belief system.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is. It's what you believe about God.
Yeah.
And what you believe about God is what you act on.
How you living?
What you
How
live,
you live
how you
that.
behave,
Yes.
how you treat people, how you walk through life, the choices and the decisions that you make. It's about your belief.
Can we just talk about this? I know we got to quit. We're going to stop in a minute. But real quick, because this just brought this faith without works is dead.
It's dead.
But let me tell you what I learned. Another thing I learned. I love the Bible.
I do too.
I
I
do.
love it.
The reason why I love the Bible is because if you're really serious about wanting to understand it, like, God will make it plain to you. But I was convicted to do a study on that particular scripture because I hear it often and if people say it wrong, they mean it wrong. So when I did a study, I actually did a Facebook Live about this too. Faith without works has nothing to do with effort. But the way people use that scripture, when they say faith without work, and I thought about this because you just talked about faith and how you live your life. And this is so telling and so connected. But I think this is a message for anybody who's watching this and understanding the Bible and how we're supposed to live our lives, especially when we confess our faith of Christ, right? Faith without works means that if you profess your faith in knowing God and believing God, then your actions are going to look like that. Meaning, if I say, Lisa, I can't pay my rent, and I've been doing, you know that I serve God. You know that I live a lot. But if I come to you and I say, Lisa, I'm struggling today, sis. I don't have no food. I'm so hungry. And you say to me, Makiba, God will provide for you. The Bible says that your faith is dead. Because what you're supposed to say is, sis, I got you.
I got you.
Here's $50 for you to get something to eat. And whatever you need to help you with your rent, I'm going to give it to you. That's what faith without works is dead means. But the society, the church, sometimes, most times, all the time, will have you believing, because I've heard it used wrong in the church, that faith without works is dead means that you can believe God for something, but he's not going to make it happen until you put forth an effort.
That is not God.
That is not what that means.
I
just felt like today we need a Bible lesson.
Listen, you have stepped over into a room that the door needs to be kicked down.
But that is what I've learned. So that just goes back to the question that you asked, like what I've learned. I've just learned to be more aware of God. The Lord told me in 2018 that basically what he said to me is however you choose to do what I've given you to do is totally on you. But the prerequisite to that is I need you to know me first.
Absolutely.
And so all of this, that's what that is about. Like me learning to love God, I've been a Christian since I was a teenager, but it wasn't until I was 40 something years old that I developed a passion for his word. And but that was because the Lord told me that you need to get more knowledge of me, Makiba.
You need to get more knowledge.
And so all of this it just comes out of that. And so I just want, and that's where I feel like when we're talking about ministry, when we're talking about discipleship, and we're talking about purpose, it's not glitz and glamour and platforms and all of this. Are you pointing people to the knowledge of Christ? That's your purpose?
That's your purpose.
And so that's why the job that God has given me is so like spiritually warred all the time. I deal with a lot of stuff mentally and emotionally in my head because there are times when I don't think I'm eloquent enough, or I'm called enough, or I'm not a pastor, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a minister, I'm not any of that. I'm Makiba, a teacher.
Yeah.
Right? But what I do know is that God has given me extreme clarity on what purpose looks like. And it's my job to make sure that there's no confusion when people hear the word, and it takes the way that I've been given to share with them is that it takes away any confusion when it comes to the Bible. That's my gift.
That's your gift.
But that's why God said, in order for you to do that, you got to know me better.
You have to.
You got to know me.
He is.
And then whatever you choose to do, I trust you to do it. Girl, I know the conversation go forever, but we got to stop.
Yes, we have to stop. But this conversation is so good, and it leads us to your Purpose Summit. You have your second annual Purpose Summit that's coming up in October. Tell us about it.
Yes, so Purpose Summit, second annual Purpose Summit will be on Saturday, October 25th here in Chicago at Soul City Church. It's going to be from 9 in the morning till 6 at night. Jam-packed agenda. And last year was our very first one. It was the inaugural one. I thought it was a great experience. Can you imagine it being better?
Yes.
It's going to be better.
It's going to be better.
We put a lot of energy into it. Lisa has been so like, oh God, I don't even know what to say. Like,
you don't have to.
This is what's important to know is that when God also gives you instruction and he tells you to do something, he's going to partner you with people who are not jealous of your call, right? And they're just going to avail themselves to you. And you and another really great friend of mine have just availed yourselves to me, and it doesn't affect anything that you do. And this is what when I tell women, if you don't walk in your purpose, you hinder somebody else from walking in theirs. So it's never about you. So I just want to say that I'm very appreciative of Lisa. Like the very first Purpose Summit that I had, she was right there with me the whole time. And she's here again with me, doing this with me. And I'm not an events person, but every time I got to sell these tickets now. So y'all go and buy these tickets. Only 50. We only got 50. It's a small event, and I'm fine with that. But it's going to be so powerful. And we have a full day. We have a VIP brunch. Midday is going to be great. The menu is amazing. And then we have some really great speakers, and we have a great panel that's going to be about menopause. So we're going to be talking about menopause during the day's panel. And we have some giveaways, and we have, pictures and all kinds of stuff going on. So please, if it's on your schedule, please attend the Purpose Summit this year. It's going to be amazing.
And tell us the website to the Purpose Summit where they can purchase their tickets.
Lord Jesus. What's their website?
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen. I promise you though, I don't know it. Hold on. Listen. I'm so glad this is informal because, girl, I don't remember because I got it. It's right here. Okay, so the website for the Purpose Summit, you can actually go to bit.ly /official TPS 2025. But it is up there, and maybe we'll be able to put it in the show notes.
Yes.
We'll put it in the show notes so you can just click the link. But you can buy your tickets there, and then it's also on Eventbrite.
Yes. Okay.
So if they just type in the Purpose Summit, it should come up on Eventbrite as well. But yeah, I probably should put it on my website too.
Yes, put it on your website.
Yeah, probably should. Girl, I'm telling you, I just be out here. I'm so informal, and I got it.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
This has been so amazing. You're going to have to come back.
I will.
You're going to
Girl,
have to come back.
You know
We're
my
going to have
gift
to
is
have a
talking.
part two. Yes.
I love to talk. I tell people all the time, God can use you to they be like, well, I don't have no gifts. Girl, God gave me the gift to talk. And that's how I do purpose.
But the
I
important
talk.
thing is it's knowledgeable, it's truthful, and you know what you're talking about.
I try.
And this your gift,
Thank you.
right?
Yes.
It's your gift and it's part of your purpose. So
Thank
that's
you.
what matters.
With a tad bit of comic relief, because I do like to think of myself as a, an amateur comedy person. I add a little comic in.
Thank you so much,
You're
sis.
welcome.
I really, really appreciate you being here with
Thank you
me
for
today.
having me.
Thank you
I'm
for
so
your
proud of you.
honesty. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for spilling all the beans.
Yes, and if you want to know more,
Yes.
you can get on Amazon. Baby, I tell all the business on here right here. It's a lot of stuff. But you know what? I ain't gonna say nothing. But my ex-husband's wife got a hold of that book, and
That's for part two. That's for part
she
two.
gave it to him.
That's for part two. That's for
I'm like,
part
how
two.
she get the book? Like,
That's
yeah.
for part two.
But anyway, it's that good, right? Yeah.
That's part two. That's coming up.
It's really good. But make sure you go and get these books, guys.
Yes.
Like, I put my heart and soul into these books, and they're from the heart of God. And yeah, so I don't know when book 3 is going to come out, but we'll see. Whatever God tells me to do, I'm going to do it.
Yes. So go to Amazon and purchase the Purpose Code and Unapologetically Me by Dr. Makiva Couture. We appreciate you for being with us here today
Thank
on
you.
Soul Dialogue, and part 2 will be coming up.
It will.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. I hope that something was said today. I hope that a seed was sown into your soul that will start you on a journey and on a path to healing and wholeness, on a path to finding your purpose. And please join us in October for the Purpose Summit. We will be at Soul City, Chicago for the 2nd annual Purpose Summit. And so thank you. Thank you for joining us here at Soul Dialogue, where every conversation leads to transformation. Bye.